Imagine this. You wake up one morning, rub your eyes, and suddenly realize a decade has passed. But you can't quite remember where it went. Not because of some grand disaster or life-altering tragedy, but because it was stolen. Not all at once, but little by little, one scroll, one snack, one mindless choice at a time. Bad habits don't come crashing through the door announcing themselves. They slip in quietly, unnoticed, wearing the warm and inviting mask of comfort. They feel harmless, even friendly, like a small reward you've earned after a long day. But make no mistake, they're thieves and their favorite target is your life. They rob you not of hours you remember, but of moments you never even noticed were gone. The Stoics, living thousands of years before TikTok, Netflix, and fast food, understood this game better than anyone. They knew that life's biggest threat wasn't the rare catastrophe, but the quiet erosion of time through unexamined choices. They taught that if you don't guard your mind, these thieves will run it, and if you don't choose how to spend your days, someone or something else will choose for you. And today, I want to show you exactly how they caught these thieves in the act, and how you can take back what's yours, not tomorrow, not someday, but starting in the very next decision you make. Because the truth is, your freedom won't come from waiting for a perfect moment. It begins the moment you see the thieves for what they are and lock the door. Let's be honest, bad habits feel good, at least for a while. That endless scroll, it's dopamine on demand, a little spark that lights up your brain and makes you think you're relaxing, when in reality you're just feeding an itch that never truly goes away. That extra dessert after dinner feels like a warm hug from the inside, a sweet comfort that tells you you've earned a reward, even if it's stealing your energy for tomorrow. Gossip with a friend, instant connection, instant belonging, like you're part of an inner circle, even if the connection is built on tearing someone else down. But here's the catch. These are rented pleasures and the rent always comes due. You pay for them not in cash, but in lost focus, lost health, lost integrity, and the slow erosion of who you could have been. The Stoics understood this long before the word dopamine existed, or science explained the brain's craving for short-term rewards. They knew the human mind is wired to choose the easy road, the quick comfort, the short-term hit, even if it costs us the future we truly want. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And that's the tragedy. It's not that life is too short. It's that we keep giving away the minutes and hours that could be building something great in exchange for moments that vanish as quickly as they arrive. Every time we give in to a bad habit, we're not just losing time, we're casting a vote for the wrong master. Desire. And desire, when left unchecked, isn't satisfied with the taste. It will demand the whole feast. That 5-minute scroll becomes an hour. That one indulgence becomes a nightly ritual. That little bit of gossip becomes your default way of connecting with others. Slowly, almost invisibly, the habit stops being something you do and starts being part of who you are. The Stoics warn that if you don't master your desires will master you. And here's the dangerous part. The enemy doesn't come dressed as danger. It comes dressed as comfort, as pleasure, as harmless fun. That's why it's so easy to let it in. And that's why it's so important to learn how to see it clearly, for it takes more than you're willing to give. The Stoics didn't see discipline as punishment. They saw it as liberation, a kind of freedom most people never experience. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, but the far greater freedom from being yanked around by impulses, urges, and distractions that promise joy, but often deliver regret. They believed that if you cannot control yourself, you cannot truly call yourself free. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king who ruled an empire yet kept his ego in check, treated every decision as a gatekeeper moment. Before he acted, he would ask, "Is this in line with the person I want to be?" That single question was his shield against choices that might feel good in the moment, but would lead him away from the man he was striving to become. If the answer was no, he didn't do it. No negotiation, no just this once, no excuses. Epictetus, born into slavery and then later freed, understood perhaps better than anyone that freedom begins in the mind. He trained himself through small, deliberate acts every single day, waking early, fasting, enduring discomfort, holding his tongue when he wanted to speak, because he knew that if you can win the small battles, the big ones will not shake you. To him, the discomfort was not the enemy, it was the training ground. Seneca, the wise statesman and philosopher, measured success not by how many achievements he stacked up or how much wealth he gathered, but by his level of calmness in the middle of life's chaos. To him, calmness was proof of mastery, the ability to stay steady when the world wanted to pull you into its storms. The Stoics understood that self-mastery wasn't about perfection or pretending to be unaffected by temptation. It was about practice, repetition, and showing up for yourself every single day, even when it wasn't easy, especially when it wasn't easy. They knew the habits you build in the quiet, ordinary moments are the ones that decide who you are when the pressure is on. And so they trained not for applause, not for recognition, but because they understood this truth. The person who has mastered themselves can walk through life untouched by the chaos that destroys others. That is the kind of freedom worth fighting for. Weapon 1, awareness before action. The Stoics understood that most of life's mistakes happen in the moments when we react without thinking, when our impulses take the wheel before reason even gets a chance to speak. That's why they practice the pause, that tiny but powerful gap between impulse and action. In that space lies the freedom to choose differently. Try it yourself. The next time you feel the urge to open your phone out of boredom, stop. Count to 3. Ask yourself, does this move me toward the life I want? That one question can be enough to break the automatic loop and remind you that you're in control, not the craving. Weapon 2, voluntary discomfort. The Stoics didn't wait for life to challenge them. They challenged themselves first. Cold baths, fasting, walking long distances, these weren't acts of punishment, but acts of preparation. They weren't seeking suffering for suffering's sake. They were proving to themselves that the mind could command the body, not the other way around. By practicing small hardships voluntarily, they built resilience for the bigger storms life would inevitably bring. If you can choose discomfort now, you won't crumble when discomfort chooses you later. Weapon 3, replace, don't just resist. The Stoics knew that nature hates a vacuum, Ishia. If you take something away, you have to fill that space with something better. Simply telling yourself, don't do this, leaves a void your old habit will rush back to fill. Instead, they replaced gossip with reading philosophy, replaced idle scrolling with walking in nature, replaced meaningless chatter with meaningful reflection. You don't just shut one door, you open a better one and step through. Weapon 4, measure effort, not outcome. The Stoics refused to chain their happiness to instant results because they knew results take time. Instead, they measured success by showing up every single day, regardless of whether they could see progress in the moment. To them, each day of consistent effort was a victory because consistency builds character, and character is what crushes bad habits for good. These 4 weapons aren't ancient relics, they're tools you can pick up and use right now. And once you do, bad habits won't just be something you fight, they'll be something you outgrow. So how do you begin? You don't need to rebuild your entire life in one exhausting burst of motivation. You start small, but you start with precision. Step 1, choose one habit, just one, the one that drains you the most. Maybe it's endless scrolling, late night snacking, or procrastinating until the last minute. And make that your battleground. Don't try to fight on all fronts. Win one war first. Step 2, use the pause technique. When the impulse hits, don't let your body act before your mind has spoken. Count slowly to 3. In those 3 seconds, you give yourself the space to ask, does this align with the person I want to be? Step 3, schedule one small daily discomfort. It doesn't have to be extreme. It could be doing a push-up challenge, taking a cold shower, or leaving your phone in another room for an hour. These little acts are like strength training for your discipline, building resilience so you can handle bigger challenges with ease. Step 4, track your wins. Every time you resist a bad habit, write it down. Not for likes, not for applause, for proof. Proof that you can trust yourself. Over time, those little marks on paper will turn into a wall of evidence that you are stronger than you think. Because these aren't just habits you're building. They're daily votes for the future version of yourself. The one who's in control, focused, and free. The fight between Stoic discipline and bad habits isn't one with dramatic, life-altering moments. It's waged in the small, almost invisible spaces before you make a choice. In those few seconds, you are casting a vote for who you will become tomorrow, next year, and a decade from now. The Stoics knew this. They weren't flawless, untouched by temptation. They stumbled like all of us. But what set them apart was their consistency. Day after day, they showed up to the battle within, training their minds until self-mastery became second nature. They understood that freedom isn't about removing every temptation from life. It's about standing face to face with it and still choosing what's right over what's easy. So, what chain will you break today? Which bad habit will you decide has stolen enough from you? Comment below, declare it, and take the first step toward ending it. And remember, your freedom doesn't begin someday in the future. It begins the very moment you decide, with absolute clarity, I am not my impulses. I am their master.